I'm just a little out of sorts today. I accidentally used my body wash on my head this morning in the shower, and now my whole face smells like a foot. So, no, it's actually an improvement. Hello and welcome to Fantasy Foosball. I am your host, Jeff Stoltzfus. Today we're going to talk about the 2021 Philadelphia Eagles. Will their season suck? Let's talk about it. First things first, let's get to our not a sponsor of the day, cars. Yes, that's right, cars. They go everywhere, except the ocean. Don't go there, you'll drown. In cars. Now available in Lady. Okay, so full disclosure, I picked this team first for my channel because I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Oh, that's far too large a font. Kevin, the font is, we talked about this, the font is much too large. It seems like it got bigger than when we did it before. I think my spleen is kerning. I actually grew up about an hour west of Philadelphia, in Amish country. Not that the Amish are fans of Eagles. They're actually filthy Cowboys fans. So let's break down the roster and see what to expect for the 2021 season and what's valuable for fantasy football purposes. And we might as well start right at the top with the QB position. Currently on the roster, there is Jalen Hurts, Joe Flacco, and Jamie Newman. So let's dive into all of them. Jalen Hurts is the clear starter. He is going to be a great pick, I think, in redraft leagues, as long as you take him at the end of the first tier. Pretty much anyone that you could expect to find in the first tier that can run and throw, a Dak Prescott or Russell Wilson or whatever, this is going to be the cheap knockoff version. I think he's a great pick in redraft leagues at the end of the first tier of quarterbacks. I know some people will put Mahomes or somebody else in their own tier. That's not how I'm doing it. It's a whole first tier for me. It's going to be anyone who can pass and throw, Dak Prescott, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. At the end of that tier, I think should be Jalen Hurts. He's going to do you well most weeks in fantasy to be the occasional boom, very rarely the bust, and sometimes in the middle. It's worth taking. Before you get to that next level of average on average quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, he is the backup. He is the mentor for Jalen Hurts to hopefully help him progress. And he is nothing more than that. You're not going to draft him, and hopefully he never sees the field. Jamie Newman is very fascinating. I love that they got him. He was undrafted. He was a quarterback from Wake Forest who eventually was going to transfer out to Georgia, I believe, and then opted out for COVID concerns. He was a potential first rounder a year ago, and now he goes undrafted. It's very strange. I was aware of Jamie Newman prior to the draft, and I liked his game tape. I liked it a lot, actually. I put him down in the second tier of quarterbacks just around, probably just after Mac, because he wasn't quite as skilled with his decision-making on the field, but he had a whole lot of upside. So I could see what people were interested in. I like that he's at the Eagles, and I'm very curious to see him in action for the Eagles. I don't know if they're doing preseason normal this year or not, but I would really like to see him in the preseason and see what he does. My concern is that he's not going to be complete trash. And I know it's a strange thing to say, but I actually am concerned that he will show out good. The Eagles don't often keep, or almost never keep, more than 2 QBs on the roster, so they would then be sending him to the practice squad if he didn't make the original 53, and I just don't see him clearing waivers and sticking on the practice squad. I feel like some quarterback-hungry team is going to take him. I hope he stays with the Eagles, and if they could sneak him onto the practice squad, that would be amazing. Who knows what can happen in the future? Things change. Next, at the running back position, we have Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kerryon Johnson, Jordan Howard, Elijah Holyfield, Jason Huntley, and Adrian Killens. Miles Sanders is the guy. There's no question about that. Boston Scott has a role, perhaps maybe different this year. Then you've got Kerryon Johnson, which is a mystery role as well. But I love that the Eagles got him. Killens is fast, but undersized. Holyfield is large, but they don't need a banger. And even if they did, it would be Jordan Howard, assuming he has anything left. But the Eagles don't usually keep a banger on. Look to their track history, and you'll see that they'll stick even Boston Scott in there to bang out a few yards on the goal line, and you'll realize they just don't care. Kenny Gainwell is the most interesting of the group to me. I had him listed as probably the 4th or 5th running back to go off the board. So he went rather late, surprisingly late to everyone, I think. Maybe because he was a bit undersized. He's comped on player profiler like Ito Smith. I don't think that's complimentary. I see him more as a Nyheim Hines, and I do think he has a role. I think he's going to get involved. I think if anyone outside of Miles Sanders has any upside here, it's probably Kenny Gainwell. So if you can get him, especially in Dynasty, pick him up. At the wide receiver position, we have Jalen Reagor, DeVonta Smith, Greg Ward, Travis Fulgham, Quez Watkins, John Hightower. Who else am I missing here? Oh, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Arcega-Whiteside, I'm sorry. And then Trevon Grimes, I don't know. He's a rookie, undrafted, and Jamon Osborne. This is going to be a big year for Jalen Reagor. We're finally going to see why we picked him in the first round. Or not. I think DeVonta Smith was a no-brainer. I mean, the guy won the freaking Heisman. So you take him, you take some of the pressure off of Reagor, and things might be looking up for us. Then you got Travis Fulgham. I was hip to him even before we got him at the Eagles. I thought he was a solid receiver. I wasn't surprised he got drafted where he did, but I was kind of surprised that they let him go from the Lions and just got snagged up by the Eagles. I mean, value pick in that we spent nothing. However, it remains to be seen what Fulgham's role is going to be this year. So if you have him in Dynasty, I would sell him immediately. I would have sold him last year, quite honestly, because his value seemed to peak there and then disappear. But if you still have somebody this year, there's some hype, some news, something around him, yeah, get rid of him. I like him as an actual player, but I think in Dynasty, trade him. Greg Ward. Greg Ward is... I think this is Greg Ward's last preseason with the Eagles. I don't see how they keep him. He has been solid or overperformed during his stint here, but I think maybe there was an affinity for him from the previous coaching staff, and if that doesn't carry over, I don't see how he stays. And then there's J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Goodbye, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Quez Watkins and John Hightower are two very interesting wide receivers to me. I like both of them, but I would grab Quez Watkins if you can in Dynasty just to see how things shake out before the season starts. He's got a lot of potential. He's got speed for days, son. I mean, John Hightower is tall and fast and runs a 4.4, but Quez Watkins is about the same size, actually 20 pounds heavier, and runs a 4.3. So, yeah. At the tight end position, we have Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, and then things get a little weird. Jason Croom. Yeah, that's a person. Caleb Wilson, Hakeem, Butler, Tyree, Jackson, and Jack Stoll, as it apparently says on the website right now. Ertz, I don't think he's dead, but I don't think he's on the team this year either. I keep seeing a lot of rumors that the Chargers are interested in him, and more power to him. His player comp is Hunter Henry anyway, so why not just go fill his place? He's from California, I believe, so let's do right by Ertz and send him home. He's got a little bit left in the tank, but I don't think there's any reason to try and squeeze that out here in Philly. Send him off to the Chargers, let him have fun with West Coast sun and Justin Herbert's child-looking haircut. Dallas Goedert is the guy now, and there's just no way around that. Even if Ertz stayed, I still think Goedert would rise to the top this year. He would just dwarf him. He would look like a big, strong man next to an itty-bitty baby. Okay, maybe not physically, but I think fantasy-wise. Put your money on Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is the tight end that you want on this roster, no matter what. And after Dallas Goedert, I mean, Jason Croom is undrafted, played for the Bills, I believe, for a season. He's just a guy. He's probably a nice guy. Probably, has a favorite color. Maybe a family. I don't know. Caleb Wilson, he was drafted, but it was all just potential. There's nothing really there. He's also just a guy. Then things get even more interesting. So if you get through the first tier of Ertz and Goedert, and then you get into that second tier of Wilson and Croom, then you get to that third tier of just what the heck are we doing here? it seems to be works in progress. Hakeem Butler, who was a 4th-round pick, at the top of the 4th round by the Arizona Cardinals. He's very tall. He was a good wide receiver. He was a good prospect. I think he was injured when he was drafted. And then for some reason, he just fell out. They replaced him. For some reason, the Eagles picked him up and thought, yeah, let's make you a tight end. And that transition is still going on. I don't honestly think that's going to work. But they've got another project just behind him. Tyree Jackson was a quarterback. He's like 6'7". He's a huge hulking man, 250. He's a big, strong dude. He actually is the size and physicality that you would want in a tight end. He's making the transition too. Although his transition just started. The Eagles picked him up in January of this year, 2021, to be a tight end. So this guy was a quarterback, undrafted, spent some time on the Buffalo Bills roster, dropped before training camp, didn't make the 53, went off to the XFL, backed up Cardale Jones. Then COVID killed the XFL season. And then he was picked up by the Eagles to transition to tight end. The strange thing is, on Player Profiler, his comp is actually Logan Thomas, who was a QB himself. They are about the same height, more or less, same size. Tyree Jackson, if you remember, was actually at the Combine a couple years ago throwing to the wide receivers for their drills. Steve Smith, if you remember, came over and talked to him and actually had to tell him, hey man, take some heat off the ball. This isn't about you. You don't have to drill him every single time. I mean, he said something like that, but probably cooler because he's Steve Smith. And then he also probably said it like down here more because I'm taller than him. That's not a jab. He's just a shorter man. That's just the way that God made him, and I don't know why you would bring up an issue with that. It's not a slight. Don't be a jerk. Anyway, I like him. I hope he actually has the ability to transition, and we actually have space on the roster for him. Occasionally they will keep 4 tight ends. Not often. Here and there. I mean, Richard Rodgers fell on and off the roster here and there, so we could squeeze a Jackson on there. The offensive line is solid enough. We picked up Landon Dickerson this year in the draft. 2nd round is a good spot for him considering his injury risk, and that seems to be the only question mark that anyone has about him. They all seem to like his size, his playing. It's just the fact that he's been hurt so many times. He's learning behind Jason Kelce. I mean, one of the best in Eagles history at the position. Defensive line is about the same as last year, although we did pick up an interesting prospect in the 3rd round in Milton Williams. Linebacker is the big question mark, and I don't even think there's anything there for fantasy football purposes. What we have this year is the addition of Eric Wilson, who I liked very much at the Vikings last year. He stepped up, had some value in IDP, but now he's with the Eagles. He's probably our best linebacker just by getting off the plane, assuming they flew him. I guess he could have taken boat. We've already got Alex Singleton, Sean Bradley, TJ Edwards, Jannard Avery, Davion Taylor. They haven't valued anything at the linebacker position in many years, and you can blame a lot of people for that. But if we look at the list, Eric Wilson, Alex Singleton, Sean Bradley, TJ Edwards, Jannard Avery, Davion Taylor. Let's go through now the value at the position. Undrafted. 6th round pick. Undrafted. 5th round pick. 3rd round pick. And that last one was Davion Taylor, who wasn't even a regular 3rd round pick. He was a compensatory 3rd round pick. So a little later, almost a 4th. And he had exactly 7 tackles all of last year because they didn't really let him on the field much. Also, let's not forget that though he has a lot of good metrics, he's got potential athletically to be great. He was new to the position. He had only become linebacker a few short years before getting drafted into the NFL. So he's got a long way to go, and he's at the bottom of the depth chart right now. And then you get to the DBs. Rodney McLeod's coming back. Kayvon Wallace we drafted. Josiah Scott, Zach McPherson. I mean, come on, man. They don't put much stock into cornerback either for some reason. And yet, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, and you're going to have to go through a team like the Bucs, who have lockdown corners on both sides, their wide receivers are very good. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, if he's not doing something crazy that week, Scotty Miller. What's his name? Terry? I don't know. Terry? Terry. Was there a Terry? Who the hell's Terry? I don't know. There was a guy they drafted last year. Tyler? Tyler. Was it Tyler? Tyler. It was Tyler. They drafted a guy last year, Tyler. They drafted another guy this year. There's wide receivers out the wazoo in Bucksland. And I think if you ever expect to match up with a Super Bowl winning caliber team, you need lockdown corners to go against their amazing wide receivers. We don't have that. We have one guy. And if he gets a cold, I don't know. No one's going to play that week. We'll just grab fans and stick them out there. So that is the 2021 Philadelphia Eagles roster, but we're not done yet. There's still a few bones left to pick on this carcass, and I have some picking to do. Let's start at the top with the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, who actually, as far as owners go, doesn't seem that crazy, doesn't seem that overly involved. He's not making headlines for getting angry rub and tugs in a South Florida massage parlor by some Asian ladyboys. And he's also not Dan Snyder. However, he is to blame for Howie Roseman, our general mismanager. A lot of Eagles fans have a bone to pick with Howie Roseman, and I have supported Howie Roseman and defended him on many occasions in the past to my loved ones, who I assume still love me. But I can't defend Howie Roseman anymore. Let's dive into this particular fella that is the Eagles GM. Howie Roseman has been questioned on a number of levels in the past by Philly fans, who are quite vocal. But the biggest gripe seems to be in his drafting, of which I can understand. I've been on board the Howie train before, but last year I acted like a big baby man and cried my little eyes out as I screamed at the TV in the first round, anyone but Jalen Reagor, anyone but Jalen Reagor, and then they took Jalen Reagor. And then in the second round when I screamed, please no, dear God, not Jalen Hurts, there's no reason to take Jalen Hurts, and then they took Jalen Hurts. So just from last year, I'm already seeing their point. But we can go back way farther than that, because this is the real problem people have with Mr. Howie. I'm going to read to you now some things that he has done in the past, and I understand, I'm cherry picking. No need to tweet at me, bros. To illustrate the point of bad drafting, I'm not just going to point out someone that he drafted who didn't pan out. That would be cruel. Would it? There were certain people coming into the draft each year that is just kind of almost common knowledge that they are good. Just everybody knows. And you should take them if they fall to you. So let's see who Howie chose instead of guys like that. 2 years ago, he took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Over Justin Jefferson. Let that sink into your noodle. Have you seen the video of the Vikings staff hearing the Eagles' pick of Reagor and realizing that they just found Jefferson in their laps? There's more than a little giggle. They're laughing at us, Howie. They're laughing at all of us. Mostly you. Actually, mostly you. 2 years ago, he chose J.J. Arcega-Whiteside instead of D.K. Metcalf. Have you seen D.K. Metcalf without his shirt? Everyone has. The man is an Adonis. And he's also good at football. Everyone knew D.K. Metcalf was good. Even if they questioned how many routes he could run, everyone knew that D.K. Metcalf was better at football than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Donnell Pumphrey over Marlon Mack. Donnell Pumphrey over Aaron Jones. Donnell Pumphrey over Chris Carson. Can you imagine taking Donnell Pumphrey over Chris Carson? You don't have to. It happened. Donnell Pumphrey is 5'8", 176 pounds. Now, Chris Carson is 6 foot, 218. So even if you didn't know anything about football and you just saw these two guys on the street and you looked at them fully clothed, doing nothing, and you had to pick one to be a running back on your football team, would you pick Donnell Pumphrey or Chris Carson? One is a Hawaiian roll, the other one is a loaf of bread. You take the bread. Would you ask Donnell Pumphrey to help you move a couch into your new apartment? I don't think so. You pick Chris Carson. The man is huge. He would run through walls with your couch and probably place it in the most perfect spot possible. And then Rashard Penny would lay down on it, injured. And if you're saying, Oh, well, he's bigger, so he's slower. Sure, Chris Carson ran a 40 1/10 of a second slower than Donnell Pumphrey. 1/10. Do you know what you can do in 1/10 of a second? I don't, but it's fast. And just to put a button on that, Chris Carson was taken 2 rounds later than Donnell Pumphrey. And he's still on an NFL team, isn't he? So yeah, Howie not good at drafting. And I was concerned when Joe Douglas left too, because I thought he was particularly good at evaluating talent. So now that he's gone, there's no one to help Howie. Poor stupid Howie. But wait, there's more. Howie apparently is not just bad at drafting, which is a job of a GM. He's also bad at contracts. Case in point, let's take a look at the contracts for Carson Wentz. And now that he's not on the team anymore, we are paying $33 million in dead cap money this year. Also, Malik Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, now that they've been cut, there's totals over $9 million for a total of more than $40 million in dead cap money this year and even into 2022. He's made a number of very strange and very questionable trades in his tenure as GM. It almost seems like he makes trades to make trades, kind of like a fidgety fantasy football player. Or a GM with ADHD. GMAD. I can no longer defend Howie Roseman. I don't know what's in his mind, but I think it's time for him to go too. I know the fans are clamoring for it. Most people felt like he should have been fired instead of Doug Peterson. And honestly, probably it was best for both of them to go and just start fresh. Then we get to our new head coach, who I don't know much about. But honestly, if it wasn't my team, I would look at this season, I would look at this hire, and I would say this has all the clues of a one-and-done head coach. I don't wish that for him. I wish good things for my team and my head coach. But it's got that stink about it that I've seen on other teams where they hire a guy, and you just know he's the transition piece. He won't be here in a year. I hope that's not the case. It's going to be a tough year for Nick. I mean, just look at this picture of him here. He's wearing a shirt, an Eagles shirt, with the great Jason Kelce on it, and the quotes from his amazing Super Bowl speech. And look at the comments. Fans, I guess. This guy needs to keep his mouth shut. Well, that's nice. Oh, what a poser. Wearing a t-shirt from 2018? Really? Shooting my Falcon hat. He is a puppet. Okay. I don't know what that means. The Eagles. Oh, that, must be Amish. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, hit the subscribe button, and whatever else people do on the internet.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Dog and cat and pony, how about that?